All right, everybody, welcome to the I Disagree podcast. You know, I can honestly say the reason why we've named it I Disagree is because it's two words I believe that have not only changed my life, but we all wouldn't be sitting here if we didn't say I disagree. So here's basically what we stand for. In the past 3 years, there has been more disagreements, controversies, opinions, ideas, failed expectations, character reveals, surprises, disappointments, lies, beliefs, assumptions, and bullshit than ever before. Here we go. You guys ready for the first one?
Not yet.
Good evening, good morning, good afternoon. It is the I Disagree podcast. I am Lorenzo Tomas. You may know me from Random Things You Need to Know, which is at YouTube right now, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, BitChute, and all the other places that you can go and watch that show. So I am here hosting this week. We have a great show. We have some great people here. As usual, I am here with my good friend Travis. Oh yeah. And then
He called me friend.
Okay.
and then my
He's not saying friend when he comes over here.
my other good friend Dana.
Hey.
And so we have some wonderful guests here today, and I'm gonna let you guys introduce yourselves, and then I'll introduce the topic, and then we'll go into that, and then we'll do the whole thing where we, berate each other with our opinions and ideas, and then we all leave angry and fight each other in the streets.
Awesome.
I think you're on the wrong show.
Do cops come after the 2 hours?
No, we don't have any police. Because if they come, they already know this is a legal fight. We're just legally fighting it all
we give 'em
out,
a heads up.
getting it all out, and then we'll be okay. So why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself first, sir?
Sure. Elliot Chance.
Elliot Jans.
Yes.
Where are you from?
Oh, okay. I'll tell you about who I'm from. From Green Bay, right here. My claim to fame is being taught by guitar legend Dick Dale out in California. Our generation knows him as the guitarist and Pump It from the Black Eyed Peas. And I live for audio, music, anything to do with media.
Nice.
So
Awesome. Fantastic. Thank you for
Welcome.
coming.
Yes, thank you.
And then my good friend here.
Eric Drzwicki. I'm a president of a neighborhood association on the east side, vice president of another because I live in an overlap. So, just do a bunch of stuff with local politics, trying to, do what I can to make Green Bay civil and get things done at the same time.
Awesome. Thank you for coming, Eric. I appreciate you.
Glad
I
to be
think
here.
before we move on, I think we should ask Eric to kind of slide to the right here and just
Slide to the
display the R2. I mean, I'm a Star Wars nerd. I love it.
Oh,
At least
okay.
the 1 through 6 episodes. Don't get
should
me
I
started
slide
on the
down
other
too?
one. What's that?
Should I slide down too?
No. I just want to slide down for a second. The show is R2D2.
Oh.
His microphone was
No,
in the
it's
way.
just about
You go
that.
back to
Oh.
where you were.
That,
I just
yeah.
find that to be a really interesting sweatshirt. Yet you have my vote.
Well,
Yeah,
you-
we'll
you-
let you know if you ever get out of the camera. We
Sounds
try to
good.
pay attention.
Well, now
Sounds good.
I think you should introduce yourself because people may know you, but they may not know who you actually are. Like they may know of you, but they've never actually met you. Who are you?
I am Travis Frisk, son of Curtis Frisk, Curtis Kent Frisk. I am 43, going on 10, but I read at a 13-year-old level. I
Impressive.
work at the Wellness Way. I wear many hats, and I love them all. I am happily married. In fact, this Saturday, my wife and I will be celebrating our 11 years. So excited about that.
Nice.
We actually have a fun time going. We will be on this Saturday. I'll be renting out the pharmacy for an hour and a half and just spoiling the crap out of her. You know what I mean?
At the pharmacy.
Wait, the pharmacy?
At the
Yeah.
pharmacy?
At the pharmacy restaurant, right here.
Oh,
it's part of the building.
okay.
Farm with an
I'm
F,
thinking
yeah.
like you're gonna rent out like Walgreens and you
Yeah.
have full access
Yeah.
to all the medications
Yeah.
from behind the
Oh,
counter.
that's what-
Anything you want has nothing to
we're
do
gonna
with
do
That
me.
is what I was thinking.
Yeah,
We're
like
gonna do some
40
farming, man. We're gonna
Xanaxes
just
and-
grab pills, man. Just let the world just come to us, man. It's
This is
gonna
the
be
Never knew
11th
you could rent
anniversary
out
is
the
the
full
crystal
pharmacy.
anniversary.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And- yep. So I'm excited about that.
Wow, all the meds you could take. Wow.
I know. I'd be drooling.
Let me know when that is.
All right. Well, 6 o'clock pharmacy.
I'll be there. I'll bring the bags.
Outstanding. But no, I'm happy to be here. I love the podcast. I love being able to have discussions with adults that are considered to be challenging discussions in this world today that are offensive. But here we keep things open, and I'm excited about that. So thank you for having me on.
No problem.
You want me to introduce myself? a
I
little
mean,
bit?
I
I probably
guess.
should.
You-
Say
you-
my spiel that I say pretty much
Sure,
every time.
you can go ahead and introduce yourself if you
I-
would like. If that's something
I
that you feel you
I
really
would,
need to
because
do.
you never know who doesn't know
I think
who you
I
are.
think people may know you.
Well, if you watch the podcast, you should by now, because I am the only person who has been here every time, actually. Did you know that? I am the only one who's been here the entire time. But anyway,
It's your reels I recognize.
it's the real. I know,
Or
they're
your
wonderful.
storyline.
Yeah, well, that too, I suppose.
Oh yeah.
But
so
anyway.
so people may not know you. So yeah, go
Right.
ahead.
So my name's Dana. I am 35. I'm married with 2 kids. I have 2 boys that are 6 and 8. I actually went to school for accounting. I worked on taxes for 10 years, and then I decided that was no longer for me. So given my
Sounds fun.
passion, oh, I know, it was great. It's actually not that bad, but it was not. That was not my life's calling for sure. So I did a career switch a while ago because of my just passion for natural health. I wanted to become a natural health practitioner. And then through that is really how I met Doc and this podcast got started. And so now I help with co-hosting this. And then I also, like I said, I have the social media account called Dana Disagrees, where I basically just support the patriarchy is what I end up saying. And I make some fun reels that are just sometimes fun content, sometimes serious content, sometimes uplifting, sometimes just for jokes and laughs and views and things like that. So be sure you check that out, YouTube, Instagram,
Well,
and
there,
TikTok.
there was one so dead on, and I sent you a message.
I know,
about
I
this.
can't remember which one
I
that
can't
was.
remember
Which
which one it
one?
was, but it was like all these like facts you listed, and I'm like, whew.
Oh, no, that was my personal Facebook page.
Oh, personal Facebook page. I won't say anything, but I'm like,
Oh, no, it's okay. I still talk about that stuff
okay.
here,
I'm like,
too.
whew. I wish I could say that.
Yeah. No,
Ooh,
it was
ooh.
like, just so we're all clear, that one.
That yep. That was great.
Whatever else said
My
in it.
favorite ones are the ones where you're going all the way down in your squats. I love their
Yes,
leg days.
those
Good
too.
job. Doing a great job.
A
You've
lot of
come
people
long way.
actually like those. Those tend to get views also.
That's outstanding.
Why? Why are they?
Sorry,
getting
we've been
weird?
working on
Because
we've
my
been work-
leggings are really cute.
She's been working
Oh.
on
Yeah.
her form.
I have
for
actually been.
months
That's actually
and
real.
Working on it, and she went back down on lighter weight.
Mm-hmm.
Most people have too much pride and will try to work through it, but she actually put less weight on, got the form down, and now her form is good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because then my
which will
feet
prevent
were
injury.
better, and then I could actually go down to like
And now the
make my
muscle-
legs kind of like parallel.
And now your glutes and your quads are going to be
They're
much more.
going to be better.
Reflecting
Yeah.
of your hard work. So that's good.
Exactly.
That's good. Are you looking to kick people or something? You practicing karate with all these?
No,
legs?
I just want a rounder butt.
You
I'm
want
just
a-
working on that. I need a little more butt for the size of my thigh. It's about proportions.
You know. They have a thing now. It's called BBLs. You should just go ahead and
No,
just get yourself
they also
one
have
of
a thing
those.
called implants, and I could use those too, but I'm still not going to do that.
I would. Look.
Toxins.
Do
I
I
have
need,
limits on
do,
toxins.
do I need to state how important it is that women who suffer from an issue with lack of mammary glands should all go out there and purchase new breasts because
No,
it's important?
I do not have a lack of mammary glands. I don't believe that's what that is.
I've said this many times. You know what the problem is.
Oh boy.
Anyway, all right. So anyway, we'll get to the show. I'm not gonna go into that right now. Maybe we'll talk about the physical problem later. Of certain women. Anyway, so this show is in conjunction with Dr. Flynn's Saturday show, which is ADP, which is a different
different
perspective,
perspective.
right? And so that show, this is in conjunction with that, and Doc has I forget what you call it, the statement, but it's a
Static something.
It's a static statement, correct?
Something like that. It's the
a
term
war
you made
cry,
up.
a
Yeah, no,
mission
it's
statement.
Yeah.
yeah.
It's almost like a mission statement.
Okay, we'll call it that. We'll call it mission statement.
So
until we can figure out what I said. That was
Well,
No, we were recording
the
this.
mission statement is that in the past 3 years there have been more disagreements, controversies, opinions, ideas, failed expectations, character reveals, surprises, disappointments, lies, beliefs, assumptions, and bullshit than ever before. The purpose of this show, as we stated before, correlates with a different perspective on topics related to health, men, women, politics, and religion, and that is on Saturdays, and you guys should catch that at this same YouTube channel.
Not quite. adp.thewellnessway.com.
There you go. And
There you go.
And that is why Dana.
And that is why I'm here, because I'm the one who
here.
knows what's
See,
up
now, see,
around
now
this
that-
place.
see, there you go.
me in details.
Yeah.
We have no relationship.
That is why I'm here.
All right, so we're gonna get to our first statement, and this statement is fantastic, in my opinion. As a African American man who used to work in politics and was on the side of the demon rats at one point in time, I think this is fantastic to say this. And this is something that obviously I agree with, and then you all will go around and you all will say whether you agree or disagree, and then we'll come back around and get your opinions on why you agree or disagree. But the statement is, the illustrious one, the orange one, Donald Trump will be, in the future, he will be considered one of the greatest presidents of all time? Dana,
I agree.
Elliot,
I agree.
Eric,
I disagree.
Travis.
I agree.
Okay. All right. You know what, Elliot? Why don't we start with you? Why do you agree?
That is a really good question. Why I agree based on what I see, because I have friends all over the world. You know, I've been all over the world. There was more peace during the Trump administration. You know, first off, Israel, Hamas would have never attacked Israel during that time frame. You know, I know a lot of people in the IDF. I know a few people in the Israeli Mossad. Things were so much more calm then. And at least from a global standpoint, we appeared to be strong. We appeared to be, you know, no foreign entity would dare to even try to touch us. Now, things have gone into a state of everything's permissible. Everything, it seems like crime's through the roof. I mean, there's record job growth under the Biden administration, but when Trump left, it was at a record low because of COVID. So, I mean, anyone could have those numbers. I mean, it doesn't even matter who you are right now. We got a president that can barely speak a coherent sentence. And other countries, based on what my friends have told me, over in even Iran, my friends in Iran, Israel, Dubai, Switzerland, Germany, they're amazed he hasn't been replaced. And most of my friends overseas are very surprised that we're still using him.
Interesting.
So,
It's kind of nice to know that we're not going crazy. To hear other people from other countries
even people
laugh with us.
Well, even
I guess, for
my
lack of-
friends in Iran are like, I mean, our administration feels we can do whatever we want.
So let me ask you this. So and for your friends in Iran, is this the perspective of the Iranian media, or is this just what they're seeing when they look at American television?
This would be the perspective from the Iranian citizens, the Persians. My ex-girlfriend was from Iran, so I know Farsi. Yeah, Kami Farsi Beladam. And it's obviously from the Persian perspective. The government perspective, that I don't know.
Okay.
I'm kind of glad I don't know anyone from the Islamic Revolution that happened from I believe it was 1979. But yeah, more so from the citizen standpoint. And the Persians are amazing people, better hostess than even us Americans, in my opinion. But yeah, that's their opinion, and even the ones in Dubai as well.
Okay.
So it's kind of a global standpoint from the people I know.
Interesting. Eric.
All right, so I disagree. Now, that comes from a main theory that I think history is written by the victors. Okay. And the issue is that if we're looking at how Donald Trump will be viewed in the future, then that is making an assumption that he wins this time around first. So if he doesn't win, that means history is really going to be written by the victors, and there is no chance that he has looked at it as anything except a bottom three president. Because that means that the way the ball is rolling is going to set that authority structure in such a way. But part of the reason I also don't think he should be viewed as one of the greatest presidents is because this next election is in doubt. That shouldn't be possible based on what we are currently witnessing in Washington. And I think that a more talented, more intellectually restrained individual, somebody that had the combination of masculinity and a warrior who knows when to go for peace, when to go for the throat, would be making this election feel like a mop-up. And I do think that his lack of self-control is actually something that jeopardizes our ability to have a sane country. And any man that cannot control himself enough to make the people around him safe, I think loses a lot of claim to greatness. Okay. That doesn't mean I like what's going on around right now, but I do have a lot of fear that being too id-driven and not understanding enough of needing to make your house right, I think that it's a big threat to our country.
Valid point.
Interesting.
Yeah, very valid.
Very good.
So a follow-up question. So do you think that it is Trump's behavior that is leading to some of the behavior of the public that is not the best right now? Do you think it's his behavior that's like leading that's like basically giving the example to the rest of the public to act out like they are as well? Like how we see with all the crime, and like as Elliot stated, the crime, and do you think that that's because of Trump's behavior? Or some of it is not so much 100% because of Trump, but it's Trump's example is...
Yes and no.
Okay.
Everyone is individually accountable for their own actions. That means no matter who you like, if you were back and you had liked Malcolm X back in the day, well, it's your responsibility what you do with liking him, right? If you support Donald Trump and you decide that you're going to be a menace to people because of it, or you decide you're going to treat every Hispanic you meet as if they're illegal because you like Donald Trump, well, that's on you, right? That's on you. Yeah. So I don't think anybody is ever really to blame for the actions of their followers. That's because that takes away from individual accountability. I do think that there are a lot of missed opportunities there. And obviously, none of us is going to go around and say, I think that Donald Trump is a paragon of self-control, right? I mean, people can generally notice he fails in those areas. And those failures are important. As I think a more focused attack on the bad policies and the bad ideas that are running our country right now would make this election already a foregone conclusion. We see people who are even left of center see a lot of the policies of our government and say, this is crazy. But then they see Donald Trump doing something way off script and they say, oh, but that's crazier. And I fear us losing because of that. And I think that it's our responsibility as individuals to build up the confidence of our neighbors that when Donald Trump does something crazy, we're not for that. And when he has a good point about policy, then we agree. Because by building up that confidence in our neighbors, they don't have to worry if he goes rogue someday, we're all going to join in on that. And there are people on the left and right that do that. Whenever their leader goes rogue, they're, sign me up, put the stamp on me, and I'm doing whatever they say. So that is where I think we all come into play. And I think conversations like these help build communities because they say, listen, when my guy is right, I'm for him, and when my guy is wrong, I'm going to say they're wrong too. So,
I agree. That's
Agreed.
good.
Yeah. Good argument.
Travis?
So, all good points so far. I like them all. I take a very simple way. I look at the plane. I've said this before on this podcast, but when the plane's air pressure goes, and what's the first thing that they tell you? To put your own mask on first so you can help others. Trump does a really good job of taking care of America first, and people don't want to hear that because we want to help everybody. Who doesn't? But we're in shambles right now. We are unable as a nation, I believe, to sustain ourselves and sustain other countries right now. Trump is trying to put us first. I know right away when he comes back as president, hopefully, like the Keystone Pipeline will come back in. We'll start being more self-sustained. And let me be clear. Do I think that Trump did everything right? Absolutely not. I was very pissed off how he handled the pandemic. There was something I would say start of the second quarter of COVID, in that year, 2020, I noticed his demeanor change. I don't know if someone got to him. I don't know what happened. I can only scratch my head and wonder because that happens all the time. But besides that, I think overall he was the first president in my lifespan that I can think of that wasn't trying to strip away the American dream, the American process. The Bushes didn't do much of anything, but they gave signs of it. They tried, but the Clintons definitely started moving things that way. Obviously Obama did that, and then now Biden. And at the end of the day, America was built based on the tyranny that was happening overseas that they came from, trying to start a nation that was going to keep us conservative and keep us afloat and sustained during trouble. Right now, I think people down the road are going to be thankful for Trump, regardless if he wins or not, because he's the only one that I can think of that's not trying to tear down everything. Now, there's holes in my logic. I understand that. But overall, he's trying his best to get things done. And I really believe that if people would get rid of their emotions, they would see the truth behind what he's doing. And right now, the mainstream media is really pandering to your emotions. I remember watching something recently where something happened, and CNN was telling us why we shouldn't have to watch it and how they're helping us by not subjecting us to that
Right.
information.
Mm-hmm.
Let me be the adult,
Mhm.
right, and decide for myself what's right, wrong, or indifferent. Even then, you're only getting the information they give you, right? They can, edit and all that stuff. But my point is this: I believe he's going to be good and one of the best of all time, because I think at the end of the day, people are going to appreciate that he wasn't trying to strip down our country through litigation, through new policy, all these things. He was trying to sustain what we had. And he did the best that he could with the 4 years he got, because it takes, as you know, this isn't a jet ski. You can't just turn on a dime. This is an aircraft carrier. It takes time. So I really believe that if he had more time, we would be better. But I also think people would be more receptive, like you had mentioned, if he wasn't so abrasive to people. I'm used to it. I get yelled all the time. I was in sports. I'm used to getting chewed out. I get all that. But not everyone's, accustomed to that.
Mm-hmm.
And it can come across abrasive. And I really believe if he did tone it down a little bit, I think people would see the truth behind the emotion that he's talking. Because he is bringing the emotion. He's the one bringing the emotion first, causing an emotional response. If you dial it back and go, are you guys sick and tired of this happening, versus going, these people are crossing the border, MS-13 is all over, destroying the nation. Like, bring it down to where it really is. Is it a problem? Yes. But do we have to, because when he talks with his arms and he does that, I can see how people will go, oh, Latinos are bad, muy malo, and then now they're going to start thinking that way. I get it. But if we just dial it back, be slow to speak, slow to anger, quick to listen, and when we do speak, have more of a factual, emotionless answer, I think people are going to hear the truth and start thinking differently.
So do you think that, if Trump dialed it back, would that make the media stop portraying him as a bad person?
Absolutely not. It's beyond that, because he's against their agenda.
So then, would what you're saying? How would it work then? How would the general public begin to see Trump differently because he scaled back his message when the media is pretty much promoting mean orange man bad?
Can I rephrase the scale back the message to
Yeah.
scale back the tone?
Yeah, scale back.
Y-
Okay,
y-
even that
yeah.
though, even that.
So-
how is that going to be seen, right?
So if
Or how are they going to do that? I'm sorry.
no, it's cool. No, so like if Doc said to you, Dr. Patrick, we're gonna go. He's my friend. I'll use him as an example. You're gonna die, Dana. You're going to die, and there's nothing we can do. Or if I said, hey girl, hey, if you don't, see these labs, if we don't reverse this, you're gonna have some serious detrimental problems on your hands. Can we work together to help get you healthy again? Which one are you gonna take? If they both
True.
mean the same thing,
Yeah.
but you're gonna connect with the person if you bring it down, keep it chill. And I really believe if he does that, we'll get those votes to help sustain America from going down the wrong direction. But until then, I don't know how that's going to work.
You want to say something, Eric?
Yeah, I just want to piggyback on this a little bit. So, who here witnessed the left's pivot on Biden's intellect and his being there? And now they're kind of like,
Right.
yep, we're admitting.
Like admitting
Yep.
a little bit.
So here's the thing. The media can do what they want to do. But if you act in a way that their message is no longer believable,
Yeah.
everyone gets forced to pivot eventually.
Right.
I think that's kind of what I think everybody in this room is conservative in one way or another. I think that's what we do with Trump. We admit where he's off. Because if people think that we're just saying Trump perfect, Trump perfect, Trump perfect,
Right.
Right.
they're
Yeah.
going to think we're just as delusional
Right.
as the media that portrays Orange Man bad.
Right.
And so if we can say, hey, we are realistic, we understand where he's good, we understand where he's bad, people will trust us more. But that's because we're being more trustworthy. When the left was saying there is nothing wrong with Biden, he's all there, he's completely there, that's when Biden's numbers actually started to hemorrhage because people were watching Biden, they were listening to Biden, they couldn't believe their eyes. All of a sudden, Bill Maher goes from saying how awesome Biden is to, hey, there's a lot of problems here, and other people realize Bill's a smart guy. They start to follow that, and what happens? Then people pivot the argument. So again, I think that what you're saying, that all plays in together. If Trump did tone it appropriate versus dialing it up when he doesn't need to, that would make the media harder to believe for the people that give the media more credibility. And it's a non-zero amount of people that their votes may change when they start seeing, wait, this guy did dial it back, and they're acting like he didn't. So that's what we got to do, is we got to lean into those, push your thumb into those things and say, hey, so we're all responsible for crafting our own narratives, but how we impact the people around us too. So
You got something?
Yeah, I
got
got
something.
Yeah, I got something on that. You know, and that is one thing the left uses to their advantage is emotions. 100%. I mean, everyone's. It seems like that whole party is fueled by emotion. You know, like I mean, I saw this today and I couldn't believe my eyes. I mean, this was a post. Granted, I don't know if it's real or not, but I wouldn't be surprised if it is. You know, it says, I've seen people treating the term barista as gender neutral. That's wrong. The male version of barista is barister.
Oh my gosh. Made up problem.
Like, and I Googled it. I'm like, what is a barista? And I Googled it, and it is...
Isn't it a barrister?
No, it is...
I thought that's what that was.
No,
Wouldn't it be spelled the same way?
Where's the answer? Oh, here it is. It's
Barrister,
a
right?
barista is a British lawyer.
Right, a barrister. Exactly.
Barrister.
That's what a
Okay,
barrister
Yeah.
is.
That's what it would be.
So
Okay.
I
it's
was
a
like,
barrister.
what? I'm like, can we just stop making up genders? Can we stop making up crap? Like, when are we? When do
Well,
we?
You don't have enough to worry about if that's what you
Well, actually,
can write on social media about.
I'm gonna have to disagree. If there are barristers who are out there being assumed as baristas, we have a problem. And barristers should step up and say, barristers' skills matter. Excuse me. We went to school for this. I don't know what that barista did, but I am not him. He is not me.
Very fair.
That should be made. That is a big problem. If I was a barrister, I'd be pissed today.
All right, I had one thing that I wanted to bring back on this too, and I just want to see what people are thinking about, right? Because I think about like men and women and masculine and feminine. Okay, first of all, do we even think that Trump is capable of toning it down? Because I don't actually know if he is, because that is like his personality. That's how he is. That's how we've always seen him. Okay, we're not the same, but it'd be like asking me to tone down what I do. You think I'm going to? Like I can have that in me for like a little bit, but I'm gonna come through
You might
eventually.
go harder.
But
You may go harder.
I just mean like okay, we could see if he could pivot and do something like that, but like how long can he before his eyes start twitching? I don't know. So I just wanted to kind of throw that out there, and then I also just wanted to kind of like think through well, I don't know. Is it a good idea for him to tone it down? Because
Right.
do we really want to feminize him? Right. How much do we want to feminize him? Now, I understand that, like, sometimes pendulums swing and then they swing hard, and we don't maybe want things to swing too hard, and we are in danger of things swinging way too far right, potentially, depending on how things play out in the next couple of years. But I also look at, like, the way he talks and his demeanor and stuff, and sometimes I'm like, well, no, that's exactly what we need right now, because we're in the predicament that we're in because things have been so, well, we just tone it down. Well, we're just tolerant of everything. Everything's, you know what I mean? And
Everything's
so
permissible.
I think that's why a lot of people don't like that tone of voice that he uses, and I can understand that. I would just caution us, though, suggesting that he feminizes himself at all. I don't know. You know what I mean? I don't know. That's what I was thinking about while we were talking.
What is that your opinion on why you agree?
Oh no, I have other things. I just wanted to add. I'm just adding that to that because I don't know if he's capable of toning it down.
I feel you. So now I guess I don't have a follow up for you.
That's fine. That's
Anyway.
fine. I just wanted to those are just the other things I was thinking about. I'll say.
So why do
unless
you
you have something.
No, well,
I'll
maybe
go.
he's not. But I think here would be my counter to that. I think if you realized that one little tweak in the way you presented your material maybe would make you 10 times more effective, expand your reach, and allow you to accomplish your goals.
Yeah.
You have the self-control that you would work on implementing those things if it meant you were accomplishing your goals.
Right.
I don't know if he has the self-control to be pragmatic about accomplishing his goals. And that's a problem.
Okay.
If he's not capable of course correction to actually make America great again, and he can only talk about making America great again in the only way he knows how, that's a problem. I want to compare this. Like, I don't know if you've followed South America politics, but Argentina has a new leader.
Yep.
Argentina has done more in his time in Argentina to fix Argentina than Donald Trump did in 4 years. And he's not as much of a loose cannon. He speaks to the issues. He tackles the arguments over and over and over. Now, he is extremely emotional, but he has targeted his emotions on crushing the arguments rather than sometimes what end up being temper tantrums. Because I think we have all heard things that Donald Trump have said and been like, yes. And then we've had other times where it's like, man, this was essentially the verbal equivalent of crapping your pants. And we need him to not be doing the latter and sticking with the former. You can still have all of that level of emotion, but how you channel that is, I think, the difference between being really masculine or feminine as well. Because not having well-focused emotion is not a feature that is a masculine feature.
Right.
As you
Stoicism.
define them. Right. Yes.
Stoicism. Yeah.
So
Good. I'll say my thing.
Yeah. Why
Okay.
why do you agree?
I'll say my thing. I mean, the way I think about this statement, I mean, it is actually pretty simple. I'm not a super technical, political person who understands every little nuance and all the strategy and all these things. But I can just kind of look around, just as we've been saying, and been like, well, the media says he sucks. Therefore, that tells me he must be awesome. And I can just use that. I mean, that sounds so simple, and that probably sounds so dumb to some people, but there is an element of that. But I do agree that there is potential for him to be considered one of the best presidents out there. Like we've said, the economy was great when he was in, and it was doing just a real bang job until COVID hit. And I will circle back to this. I mean, he did allow the country to get shut down, and I am mad about that. But it also, remember, largely then was also Democrats who wanted to keep it shut down and were really, really fighting for it to stay shut down. And I'm not letting Republicans off the hook with that necessarily, because they should have told the Democrats to fuck off even harder to be able to open us up again. But that's neither here or there. But I also look at him like, all right, Trump is a very, very successful businessman. He clearly knows how to run empires, and he left the bougiest life ever to go be president, and that's something.
Yeah.
And so I think there's potential for him to be considered one of the best ever. I think in order to actually clinch that title, if he gets in again, because he does have to get in again, then he has to actually do what he says he's going to do, and he has to actually drain the swamp and put people like Hillary and Fauci to death, and he's got to send the illegals home. You can actually do things like that, and then you know how I am.
Well, if they're
you
tried
know
for treason,
how I am and how I talk about these things and how I'm.
Could
See,
happen.
I'm a little bit of a loose cannon.
This is why I love the Old Testament. Just saying.
Right.
There's so much
But
validity to that.
to what you were saying, the id, right? It's a little bit out of control because I'm seeing that with. Obviously, I do not like what happened with the vaccine, and I have a whole lot to say about that. I'm trying not to say that word too many times because I don't know what's going to happen to us on
I
YouTube
still
if I
don't
do.
have it.
But that's in the way of him even with this, because I mean, okay, me who I am and how I feel about health and everything, I don't like, first of all, that one of them was warp speeded, but second of all, I don't like how he was, bragging about it and stuff like that. But what I really don't like now, I mean, I get why he was. I understand fully what was going on. But the thing is he's still doing that now, and he gets destroyed in the comments every time he does it. So I don't know who around him is still telling him to talk about it, but he should probably kind of stop, because that doesn't make any sense. And I was listening to another podcast, and they've talked about this a couple of times, and I can kind of agree with them that we're actually now looking at some real danger of Democrats flipping that script on him for what's going on in terms of injuries and deaths and things like that, because we could very likely see more information trickle out that oh, well, that wasn't as effective as we thought it was. Oh, no, now there's injuries going on. Oh, nope, now we know about more deaths that are going on.
And they'll do
some of
that.
Yeah, and then
They'll
it'll be
do
like,
it.
oh, and you know who did that? Trump did that, and he warp speeded this. This is all his fault. And
Yep. They'll do that.
They're gonna flip the
I'm
script.
I'm
They'll do
worried
that.
about that. But
That's
then,
a guarantee.
But then I also think about well, but I don't know. Will they do that? Because that will cause vaccine hesitancy, and pharma absolutely cannot have that. And pharma and the government are in
Just
bed
gotta
together.
follow the
So what's really
Pharma-
going to happen here?
Pharma owns them. So
I don't know.
Yep.
But you know what I mean? It'll create hesitancy, and you can't have that.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'll be curious to see what kind of ends up playing out here.
What
So
she said.
there's that piece, but also, I mean, hey, I'm not happy about this whole shutdown thing either, and I hold him accountable for it, and I also don't a little bit at the same time. He's still president. He still supported that decision, and I think, but there's a little bit part of me that's also well, shit, like you did have some probably bad people around you advising you what to do, because I think about it, I'm like, okay, well, what if I owned a company and I was CEO of a company and I oversaw, like, I'm the one on the lookout tower who's like guiding the ship, right? And I don't know what's going on in all like the little details.
Like in Baltimore?
Well, no, that one crashed. I'm talking about a good one. And
Too soon.
And
Too
so,
soon.
no, never too soon for me. But like if I'm the one who's like doing that, and then like my warehouse manager comes to me and says, "Hey, we have to do this right now, or we're going to lose $1 million." I'm probably going to be like, "Okay, yes, person who is in charge, who I have trusted to be in charge, go do what that thing is." Right, because I'm not involved in the warehouse day to day, so I don't know everything that's going on. I just kind of see things from the 10,000-foot view, and that's kind of what he does. He should be able to trust the head of the NIH who comes to them. He should be able to trust the people who are around him. He's still accountable for a lot at the end of the day, but sometimes I'm like, oh, dang, like you did have some bad people around you probably advising you, because you can't possibly know every tiny little detail. But anyway, all of that to say, though, is I still want everybody to understand that even if you are for him and he gets in, like, you cannot breathe a sigh of relief. That cannot be what goes on. He's not some person on a white horse who's going to save you.
Right.
We all still have to save ourselves. We still all have to be accountable for ourselves and build our own lives and still continue to build our neighborhoods and everybody who is around us, because ultimately we can't vote ourselves into a good situation.
You know, there's something that we should even take into, account here. My wife and I make a good living, and we made significantly less. She had a job that wasn't the best at the time, but we had a budget that we had a lot more money in the savings. We were able to budget to do things. And now, with all the extra money we've been able to get over the years, we don't have that same budget. So why do we have all this extra money, but we don't actually have the extra money? It's because of the economy.
Yep.
Let's get rid of emotions again. We talked about that. From an economy standpoint alone, Trump's what we need. And whether you like his emotions or not, or I don't necessarily agree with what he does all the time, but I love what he did for this economy. He made things affordable, he made things competitive, and he did things here versus overseas, and he brought accountability back to America. And I really appreciate that. I never understood why everything is overseas, made in China, everything made in China. It's like, why? Gosh, I'm gonna sound like Trump myself. China. No, but you get my point. It's like he brought things back to the States, and that to me, it kind of built my pride back up, like, for our country.
Well, and
it's a place you want to live in again.
Yeah, and I mean to even make that more simple, it's like I use this example a lot. 24-pack of Pepsi at Walmart. When I moved to Green Bay 5 years ago, it was, I think, like $7.50, $7.85 for a 24-pack. Now it's $14.
Holy crap.
At Walmart, like double. It's like now I'm like, I don't need Pepsi that bad, as much as I like it.
But you should see. Did you ever see? Not Ben Shapiro. Who was the guy that went over to Russia? Tucker went to a grocery store. The grocery stores that were horrible, and these are supposed to be the evil people, right? In Russia, he paid a third. He bought the exact same, almost to a T, what he buys every week or every other week, whatever. In the States, he paid 1/3 the price there.
Oh yeah,
that's in Russia, this place that we're supposed to hate, allegedly, right?
Or even a more insane example, when I lived in Dubai. Well, first, that was my first eye-opening experience that, oh, wow, it's not all sand and wars. Interesting. But what blew me away was the cost of cigarettes when I used to smoke. It was $17 for a carton of cigarettes. I think they're, $100 now? Here in the U.S.? It's something around there. Close enough.
Yikes.
That's because they don't want you to smoke.
But granted, I'd come back with like 5 cartons. I'm like, here we go. All right. We're gonna... This is great. This will last me one day.
Well, obviously, I think that Donald Trump will be one of the greatest presidents of all time when all things are said and done. And I love getting to go last, because then I get to
take your notes,
rebut everybody's statements, right? And I think that everybody made some really good points. I think everybody made good points. The first thing I always think about is this, right? So, I kind of look at the presidency the same way I look at the manager of McDonald's, right? It's a job, right? This man is, I think, Smedley Butler, right? He's an old war general. He wrote a book called War is a Racket after World War I. And Smedley Butler talks about how after World War I, demagoguery of these presidents became extreme, where we see them as gods or evil, and this one is a great one and this one is an evil one. It's like that would imply that the great one was doing everything that he did for sheer benevolence, so he must be Cyrus the Great. And then the evil one was doing things for just sheer maliciousness, so he's Nimrod, or he must be the evil doer in the Bible. He's the evil Pharaoh. So he's just everybody has these nefarious or these benevolent reasons for why they do these things. It's a job. It's a job. Their job is to do, one, get votes. That's the first job. Get put into the seat. The second job, get another term. Those are your first two jobs as president. Get another term. The third job is do what, not your constituents, but what your donors want you to do. What they put you in there for a reason. You're not in there for your constituents. Thirdly, you're in there for your donors. I give a good example. Barack Obama was seen today, after his term is over, 8 years later, he's seen as one of the greatest presidents of all time. When he left, that is not how he was seen. He was seen as the socialist in chief. He was seen as not even American by some people. And there were black people who said he didn't do anything for the African-American community. They hated him. He was the person who ruined people's funds because they did the individual mandate on the rollout for Obamacare, which actually would have been McCain care, and it was actually Hillary care, who I know you have an issue with. But either way, this man was seen as this. But when he got in, I remember he campaigned. He told everybody, I'm going to make sure that I fix the housing crisis. I'm going to make all those banks that did this to us, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, we're going to punish you. And the first thing he did when he got in is he bailed them out because those were his donors. He had to do what was necessary for the donorship. He did the first job. He got elected. Now, the second part is pay back those who put you in place. And he did that. His constituents came later. I'll fix those issues later if there's time for that, if I even get to those problems, because I also got to get this bin Laden guy. Or at least I got to tell you all I got this bin Laden guy. Mm-hmm. I don't even know where he is, but I got to make sure you all know I got him. The same way Trump had to make sure that you know that we got Soleimani. Do you think Trump, not saying you do, but does anyone think that Trump went over there and said, hey, I'm leading the charge to get Soleimani. We're going to get him. No, he got told, hey, we got Soleimani. Oh, did you get him? Don't ask us questions. We got him. Go out there and make the statement. Yep. Here's your statement. Say it. It's the same way how when Fast and Furious happened under Obama, that got all these high-powered guns that are in America, that come through the gangs, that came to the Mexican cartel through the southern gangs, and they moved into now Canada, because that's how guns move. They move south to north. When those guns got in here, Fox News was telling you, oh, Obama, he did this. He tried to do this. He wanted all these guns out there. He hates America. He wanted to put people in danger. Well, and then you find out this all started under Bush. So, why are we blaming Obama? Oh, he botched it. Did he botch it? It sounded like the CIA botched the gun running scam. So he's not in charge of the CIA. They have their own person who comes and tells him, here's your statement. This is what you will tell the public about Fast and Furious. That's your statement. He doesn't know. He has a job. His job is to go out there and be the face of the American public and the American government itself. Now, unfortunately, what has happened over the years, especially in the 80s, the president stopped being the face, started being governors, congressmen. We started making them into celebrities. So now they are the face. Whenever I would see the mayor of a city on, what's the guy, Stephen Colbert, I'm like, the fuck are you doing here? Your city is burning. Lori Lightfoot on fucking Stephen Colbert was one of the most egregious things I ever saw in my life. Bitch, this city is burning, and you're on Lori looking like goddamn Mo Sislak on fucking Stephen Colbert talking about suits and hair and Chicago's events. What events, bitch? Everybody's getting shot in Chicago. What events? What events was you? Name the last event you went to in Chicago and the motherfucker didn't get shot down because the motherfuckers came out and shot. I'd like to know. Which one?
Largest outdoor shooting range.
But it was great. She was on Stephen Colbert saying how awesome everything is in Chicago. It's great. We're doing fantastic. Have you not seen? It's great. This was disgusting. But I bring up Lori Lightfoot. Worst mayor we ever had. One of the worst mayors Chicago has ever had. Chicagoans said this. She's terrible. So they got Brandon. Now Brandon is the worst because of the immigration situation. They wish they had Lori. I say all this to say, Bush, Reagan, Trump, Obama, in their time when they're in, all of the things that we see, everybody, the media, whichever side is saying all this negative stuff is getting pumped out there. It appears as though they are these terrible people. It is up to the media to decide if they will be seen as great. And you made a good point. You said that the media, it's a lot of it is on him, and that the media. Oh, I'm sorry, Eric. It wasn't you. It was Travis. Travis said that the media. Travis said that the media will eventually change their tone on him if he changes his tone. Absolutely not, because they hate this man. They hated this man the moment that Barack Obama got in, and he said that he's not an American. The hate for Donald Trump truly ramped up, because I remember everybody was impressed with Donald Trump. His money, all the women he had. How his go-get-it attitude, his forwardness. We loved all that. Then all of a sudden, he became the biggest racist on the planet. Then he became the biggest rapist on the planet, next to R. Kelly and Diddy, apparently, because they are obviously sex traffickers, and Trump must not be, apparently, yet. We just wait. And so now he's the worst president we've ever had. Really? Worse than Andrew Johnson? Worse than Millard Fillmore? Worse than Franklin goddamn Pierce? Now, stop it. Stop this nonsense. That's crazy talk. There are some presidents who have just been, we've had 44 of them. There have been some that have just been absolutely terrible. Absolutely terrible. This man is the worst? Really? Bush was considered the worst. Not anymore. It's amazing how that all just changed. And it all changed as soon as Trump got in. So when I say what I say, I'm saying it because if the media, it's not the media that would change their tone, it's the media of the future that would change their tone. A prime example, Abraham Lincoln. During his time, tyrant, terrible president. Newspapers getting shut down because they're talking about how terrible he is. Evil man. This man is one of the worst presidents we've ever had. We ain't even had that many. This guy sucks. He's the worst. Soon as he died, the churches said, no, he was a Catholic. He's a Christian, good Christian man. As they went through the South, started teaching blacks, they told blacks, oh, he freed you. Blacks said, oh my God, I didn't even know. Oh my Jesus, I can't believe. Lord, praise Jesus Christ and Abraham Lincoln. Everybody was told that Abraham Lincoln, he did all these things. He did everything for you. Everything that happened, it was Abraham Lincoln. Now he's seen as the best president ever. Honest Abe. So I don't know. I don't think that he should change his tone. I agree with you. I don't think that it's going to make a difference. He could change his tone tomorrow. They're still going to say that he's evil. When the man says things, they still distort what he says. When the man says, hey, we got to get these animals out of here, they're terrible. That's what they show you. They don't show you the question where they're saying, what about MS-13, bringing in people, hurting them? No. You get what they want you to hear. And the media clearly has set the precedent. We can do this for anyone. We can do this with Kanye West. We can do this with Donald Trump. If LeBron James says something we don't like, we'll do this to his ass tomorrow too. It doesn't matter. So it's not about what the media feels about him today. It's about what the future says. And I agree with you. The victor does write the history. But unfortunately, the true history is always laid out. It's always there. It's just for people to examine. Typically, the victor writes the narrative. History is written, it's just written. The victor, they write the narrative, and the narrative will be, he was this evil man, or he was this, and he was that. But the people who actually know history will say, this man was not that evil. Ronald Reagan, a prime example. Man, I'm going to tell you, the contrast between hearing Caucasian people talk about Ronald Reagan and black people talk about Ronald Reagan, you would think that this man split himself in half. He was two different people. It's like, it's crazy. Black people think he was a tyrant, evil, hurt us the worst. He brought crack into the black. Just Ronald Reagan came in one day, was like, "Is this the ghetto of Chicago?" They were like, "Yeah." He said, "There's some crack," and he just left. He just left. It's like they make it seem like this man was so terrible. But then you talk to white Americans, Americans who prospered in the 80s, some black Americans too who prospered in the 80s. They'll say, "Man, Ronald Reagan was the best. It was so great." How people view Jimmy Carter, idiot, inept. Idiot and inept. Man, he inherited one of the worst situations ever. Shit. He inherited a crisis that was, it doesn't matter who was going to be president. You were screwed at that time. He was the guy. He was the guy. I also, a point that was made was about the economy. The economy was up when he was in there. You know, yes. But I also think about this. Because of the shutdowns, which may or may not have been his fault, the economy was going to be messed up regardless in 2020 because we took 3 months off. And then some states took 6 months to get back. They were like, "We'll get back when we feel like it." So it was like, I don't know if the economy talk even matters, because if he was in, that's all you would hear is about how the economy is bad because of Donald Trump's response to COVID. And while we are on the subject of people's response to COVID, let me ask y'all a question. Have you heard of any nation that liked the response of their leaders during COVID besides Israel and Africa?
Nope.
Most of the African nations weren't really affected with COVID, so they were like, "Oh, it's kind of whack that y'all got that shit." Right? South Africa really wasn't affected. I mean, now they have other issues. Let's be clear. They have tons of other problems.
I know
going on.
I can actually really speak on this because
Go ahead.
my grandpa has orphanages all throughout Africa.
Yeah.
I know Togo, Liberia were hit very, very hard with COVID. Now, granted, that's the hardest thing to comprehend. It's like Africa's the continent, the rest are countries.
Right.
Which is, even for me, it's like, oh yeah, you know, yeah, it was Togo, Liberia.
Mm-hmm.
What was the third one? Ghana.
Okay.
Yeah, so I know COVID was really bad.
But even those places are not the most populated areas
Not
of
at all.
Africa.
No.
And if we're going by what the science was saying, then it is all
What
of
science?
these overcrowded, well, the science was all these overcrowded areas and all the areas that had been high places for travel. So that would be Nigeria, Johannesburg.
Oh, absolutely.
And so none of these areas didn't have this problem. Now, COVID affected everyone, but Haiti was affected by COVID. They were upset with the way their government handled it. The only group that I have not heard say anything was North Korea, and I wouldn't expect for North Koreans to be saying much about their president and how he handled things, and then Israel. But as far as America, Canada, UK, Haiti, Honduras, Germany, everybody did not like how their president handled it. I think, or their leader handled it. Because you were not supposed to like how your leader handled it. It was supposed to make you have distrust in your leadership. You were supposed to look at them as inept. You are supposed to not believe in the power of voting. You are supposed to believe that these people, they should be the geniuses of all geniuses, and they are not. So now I am upset with them for me believing that these idiots, who I think are idiots, when I'm not thinking they're a genius. Man, this is complicated how I'm trying to make this all make sense. But when I don't think they're idiots, they're geniuses. And when they're not doing what I want, fucking idiots. Fucking idiot. How dare these idiots? How dare them? But he was a genius 3 days ago when he did I thought he was going to do what I wanted. He was a genius. Now he's an idiot because he didn't do any of what I wanted, asshole. These, in my opinion, Trump will be seen as such when we get very far removed from this time period that we're in.
Yes.
I think that this time period that we're in, I agree with Eric. They're going to keep using everything that Eric brought up. That is all going to be used. How he speaks, how he acts, his bombastic nature. This is all going to be used against him. And the people who are winning right now, what they're going to write is a narrative that says he was terrible. But since I don't know who Trump works for, I don't know if he's a deep state agent or if he actually is doing what he's supposed to be doing for us. I think we've had this conversation, Travis. I don't know where he stands. There's some things that I see, and I agree with you, Eric. There's some things that I see, and I think to myself, man, are you doing this shit on purpose? Like, are you trying to rile people up and get them angry with you so that they don't vote for you, or so that you give these people ammunition to use against you and your supporters? Are you doing this on purpose because it serves the purpose of control, as we always talk about? Not you're just controlling both groups. You got one group buying into this fool. You got the other group that hates him, and the whole time nobody realizes we're using you. It's all gonna work out for the plan that we want in the end anyway. Whether you're for him, against him, indifferent, what does it matter? Be just your involvement in even putting energy into Trump is what we want. This conversation is what we want.
Yeah, I think honestly, you look. We'll call it 2045. We'll just throw that out there. I think people are going to look at what he did versus the emotions.
Yes.
I think the emotions are like fog. Eventually, it clears out, and I believe that people will see what he did, and I think they're going to scratch their head, going, "I did not make the right decision."
Well, those
whether
people
you
won't
like
be-
him or not, he got stuff done.
Well, I don't know how many of those people will actually be reading that publication, because even as you see now, research is a problem, truth is an issue, knowing things is knowing things is a problem. If I don't agree with you, you're evil. You know what I mean? So I don't know if those people will actually read that. It's kind of like how the truth about MLK has come out. Some black people are like, yeah, well, I told your ass that back when he was alive. It's a bunch of older black people will tell you he wasn't shit. But a bunch of young people, the view that they have of him is, man, he was God, he was Jesus Christ walking on earth, man. This man blessed us all. He touched my head. I swear to God, all of my cancer was gone. I never had acne ever again after Martin Luther King did this to me. I fucking fell out. Next thing you know.
My right bicep was way bigger than my left one. It was crazy.
I gotta touch on something you said. So you pointed out, I think, intentionally or not, that COVID was a destabilizing force globally, right? Now, it wasn't destabilizing in a few places, right? Obviously, the CCP did really good because they always control their people. But hear me out here.
6 feet apart.
Hear me out here. So I view a lot of the dominoes that have continued to fall since then as indicative of where we are going.
Okay.
So when you say 2045, I think, all right, People's Republic of America by then. I worry that the destabilizing efforts, and this is where I give a lot of blame to President Trump, is that he has not cared about stabilizing. He relishes his role as a destabilizer. And in some ways, conservatism needs to rally around a stabilizing conservative force. And right now, that destabilization, coupled with a very strange U-turn on TikTok, which is really pushing Chinese propaganda, makes me highly suspicious. Why does this guy not care about stabilization and all of a sudden do a complete reversal on what he thinks about TikTok? To me, that worries me, because China and their goals, they have a long view. That has always been their way of history.
Yeah.
And their thought has always been, we tip these dominoes and we can just watch them go. Now, to double back, I do give Trump a little bit of grace with some of the shutdowns, because I do think he thought this was Chinese weaponized virus.
Right.
And before he knew what was going on, if we're all sitting here and we're all completely blind and we think it's Chinese weaponized virus, our actions in that immediate moment might be extremely aggressively cautious.
Right.
So I give him some grace, some leeway there, but he was behind the curve with DeSantis and Kemp and opening up. I mean, he attacked them harder than anyone else when he was president because he thought they were ruining his reelection chances, but they were right. And so I want to say that destabilization that we've got there, if he ends up being viewed as one of the worst, I believe it's going to be because he never righted that destabilization path. If he ends up getting looked at as one of the best, it's because he won and the policy measures overcame his personal failings as an individual. So that's I think where I come down on that.
Well, I think the destabilizing was going to happen regardless. It was going to happen whether it was Hillary Clinton in there or it was Donald Trump.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so Hillary Clinton would have been seen as the person who handled it the best, because I personally, this is my opinion on this, I personally think that the goal of the Clinton administration was to take men out of high places at all costs and usher us into a new era of women are the leadership. Effeminacy is the leadership. That is important. And I think, and you see it, Me Too.
The future is female.
Well, you see it with
So-
Me Too. How Me Too wasn't attacking like I used to always say, so you're not gonna go after none of these rappers? Or you're not gonna go after none of these rappers? Oh, so you don't want to go after Rick Ross for saying he put Molly on a woman's drink and she ain't even know it? Oh no, not him. Oh, none of these rappers who grab coochies all the time, right? They grab coochies on stage. I've seen Chris Brown grab a coochie. So you're not going after Chris Brown, but you are going after Tavis Smiley, Marshall Faulk. But you're not taking away any of his NFL accolades. We just don't want you hosting NFL shows. So let's put a woman on. She ain't never hit nobody. She ain't never ran for 30 yards. I don't want to see this bitch. She ain't never caught no goddamn pass. So whose pass did you catch a ball from Kurt Warner? What the fuck are you talking about football for? But this became the thing on ESPN, NFL Network, NBA Network. Stop being men and more women. I'm sorry, Elliot.
No, you're good. I just wanted to end with, the people that I've noticed who just hate Trump with just such, like, passion. They just, like, it just oozes out of them. And, they hate how, haven't you noticed they're not, like, the most, like, they don't live by the best morals or the best anything?
Well, you know what I've noticed about a lot of these people is they don't know much about a lot of things in the world, right? There's a young woman who recently I met, and she was trying to tell me all about how she hates Trump, and Trump is this evil man, and she used the same tropes. He's a rapist. He's a racist. He ate my chicken one night, and I left it out, motherfucking chicken eating motherfucker. And so she was mad about that. But I said, okay, is there anything positive about him? I said, he is the president. He was the president. Is there anything positive? Absolutely not. The only thing that's positive is that he's gone. I said, okay, so he's a rapist, and that's what you hate the most. She said, yeah, he has those accusations. I said, well, are you upset with Joe Biden because of the situation with Tara Reid? I don't know anything about that, and I don't believe that. Oh, pardon me? I didn't know that we could say we don't believe things, and that changes our minds then.
But yet we're supposed to
how old
believe
is
the
Tara Reid?
4,000 different genders.
How old is Terry?
Right. I don't remember. But
Like
I
40?
don't know. Now she's in her 40s.
she might be in
For
her
sure.
50s.
Well, she's way
actually.
too old for him. So
Well, anyway.
I don't believe it.
Well, anyway, but then, I said, okay, he's a racist. I said, so Joe Biden has made a lot of statements that are very, very questionable. I said, the one that I think about the most is a recent statement where the man clearly said, if you don't vote for me, you ain't black. So he gets to determine my blackness. I didn't know that white people still did that for us, but it's good to know.
You are welcome.
What? It's good. Well, I appreciate you all letting me know that the plantation is still here, and I'm on it. I didn't know. I thought I was off.
So not the they're gonna put you all back in chains, not corn pop, none of those.
Wait,
words.
so here's the thing. So put y'all back in chains. I understand the context, and I don't particularly
That's
care for
fear
that.
mongering, obviously.
Yeah, I get the context of what he's, and that was taken totally out of context by Republicans. And I think that's not fair. But when Hillary Clinton and AOC and Corn Pop is a good example. When AOC and Hillary Clinton go out and they speak in the black vernacular, so that they could get their audience of Negroes to buy into them, and I'm like, we're okay, and this is okay, like this is all right.
And why
Hot sauce thing.
and why is
The hot sauce in her purse.
The hot sauce,
Ugh.
yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. That
well,
was,
and why is that like, African American, blacks, Hispanic, they tend to vote Democrat. Like they have, the Democrats have marketed themselves so well for that group of people, but
it's the civil rights movement.
But yet, the Republicans during the Civil War were the ones fighting for freedom and to end slavery.
It's
and the
the civil
Democrats
rights movement.
wanted to keep slavery.
It's the civil rights movement.
It's like they were able
100%.
to hide that part of history and, basically just.
Well, I don't. Let me answer this question, and then I'll go into that for a moment, because this is something that I don't think people actually think about when they think about the Republican Party and the Civil War. But So the civil rights movement made it so that African Americans would never vote Republican ever again. They would never, because they would always see the Democratic Party, which they associated with John F. Kennedy, not really Lyndon Johnson. It was John F. Kennedy, because Malcolm and Martin are Republicans. They're not Democrats. So they're working with the Democratic administration because that's who's in there. But also, Martin being a Republican and backing John F. Kennedy for president really also made black people think we need to vote for Democrats. And then after that, it became affirmative action and all the other policies that ended up seeming like they aid black people. And then when you get NAACP and when you get all these other groups that say Democrats, we support Democrats, it's the same thing that Dana always talks about. And I don't know if people recognize this. The control that we are concerned about, look at the African American demographic. Look at them. That is the control that you should be concerned about, because that is the control that they want. The African American demographic would be perfectly fine if the African American demographic did not buy into integration. And I'm not saying that integration is a bad thing, but the idea of forced integration ruined black schools.
Yep.
It ruined black communities, because now you were forced to integrate people you didn't probably want. You had a thriving community. Not anymore. You got to let these foreigners in. And you're like, well, I mean, we never had these foreigners before. And granted, people say, well, that shouldn't cause problems, but it does. Because the xenophobia, the fear of these new people, all of this creates problems, and people leave. It's control, though. It's all these people know that this is gonna happen. They recognize that when we do this, we're gonna ruin these communities. They know that we're gonna ruin all these individuals. They know this. But if people are concerned about control, look at the ghettos. That will be all of us. It will not just be that demographic in Chicago. It will be everybody will be living in a government-ran facility that will be overridden with crime, but you will act like the crime is not happening. It's not happening. Oh, it's so bad, but it's not happening. That's what we're all gonna be. Second thing, Republicans in the Civil War. I have never seen a more radical leftist group than the Republicans during the Civil War. Everything that they did was just radical and left. And it's interesting to me how people see them and say, but they were this. They became your socialist Democrats in the 1900s. Most of those Republicans left that party, went into the radical Republican Party, moved into the Socialist Democratic Party, and these are your liberal Democrats that you had who are now leftist socialist Democrats. They just kept thinking the same ideas. The idea of conservatism existed in the Whig Party. Got rid of them. Got rid of them. Got rid of them. Most of your Whigs had to either become Republicans or Democrats. Your Republicans are, the whole thing. We're going to make a war. Think about it. We're going to federally mandate that states cannot have an economy that involves people working for free on the land, because that is socialism. That is wrong. We don't want that. So what we're going to do is we're going to spread these people out throughout the United States, right? Does this sound familiar? We're going to spread them out the United States. Oh, they're not citizens yet. We're going to make them citizens. We're just going to make them all citizens. And then once we make them all citizens, we're going to give them all the legal right to vote, or the legal privilege to vote. Whether they can read or not, you get to vote. You get to vote. You get to vote. And so they're moving them, and where they want to move them all to? The north. Why? That's where the factories are. Oh, why do you need them up there? For more labor.
Yeah.
For more labor. And to even further show you how we will disenfranchise those people, because we're mad at all of them down there. What is that Negro doing? He's an engineer. How much did he charge you to work on that tractor? Okay, minimum wage. No longer can these blacks do this. No longer can these immigrants walk around and charge whatever they want to charge to work. Minimum wage. If you don't agree to the federal minimum wage, you are now in violation. So now you make it so that blacks can't work. Make it so they can't work. And this was your Democrats, Republicans, even your Republicans who fought for the civil rights move, who were actually fighting for civil rights. They wanted blacks to have let's integrate these schools. Let's do all of this. And it's the Democrats who are saying, absolutely not. We do not want this until women. Because the Republicans still didn't have enough votes until women were brought into the situation. Of course, women. How else will you take over the nation if you don't use the women? Those Negroes, who cares about them? Those women, though,
And their
no matter
emotions.
what race, will always work. So we went a little bit off.
Yeah, just a little.
We prefer that here. We love that.
Does anybody have anything that they want to close with this particular topic?
We've been on it for an hour and a half.
I-
we could go on till probably
I-
9 p.m.
I would just say at the end of the day, we need to remove emotion from facts and make the best decision we can individually, or reach out to people that you trust to just get to the conclusion, the truth. We don't. We take everything as perfect truth, especially from the news, and you wonder why people are skewed. I got aunts and uncles that, especially aunts, who won't even talk about Trump wrong because they hate him. Why do you hate him? He's just so mean. Can you tell me what he did wrong? No, I'm not going to talk about it. They won't even friend me on Facebook. I'm like, we got to get past that. I know that's one example, but
that's the point. That's why I kind of with Eric, like, man, because some of the stuff that he does, like, it's like, well, the division that exists in America. So it's like, are you being told to say some of these things, do some of these things so that the division continues? Because that there are people out there who are not having any conversation with anyone who voted for Trump. Mm-hmm. And it's now becoming that people are saying, well, I'm not having a conversation with anybody who voted for Biden.
And I'll end on this point. With people you disagree with and people who have different ideas and different ideologies than you, don't befriend them. Don't hate them. Don't, show them love, show them kindness. Because I can tell you right now, I'm a conservative Christian tattooed music artist. But yet I'm conservative, and it's like some of my best friends.
I like that you threw tattoos in there.
Yeah, but it's like some of my best friends are people who are atheists.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them even say they're Satanists.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still friends with them. And like people who it's like.
But you know what, Elliot? I think a difference of religion today is way more accepted than a difference of political opinion.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Which
Yeah,
is
it is.
disgusting. Because I
Like,
would
like
think
marriages can make it with
Yeah.
difference
Yeah.
of religion. You never could have had like a Catholic and a Lutheran 30
Right.
years
Oh,
yeah,
ago
no.
or whatever get
Yeah.
married. But
Yeah.
now, never would have
So I
Democrat
think,
and Republican get
I
married.
think today there are more Christians who are okay with atheists because they're like, well, I mean, I understand where you're coming from, right?
Yeah.
I get it, and I may not agree, but as long as you're not being rude, whatever.
Correct, yeah.
But with politics, doesn't matter. As soon as somebody hears, oh, who'd you vote for? I voted for Trump. Fucking idiot. You're a Trump supporter. You're a fucking MAGA supporter. You suck. You hate America.
Critical race theory, all that stuff.
Yeah, why can't you just be? Why can't someone say, okay, you know what, brother? I've met many people. I don't like Trump myself. You seem like a nice guy. Why did you vote for him? And then you all start the conversation where this person may say, you know what? I didn't know that about him, and I actually agree with that policy.
Yeah, for people who yell at Trump supporters, it's like being a kid from Duke, from Durham. Like, oh, why you at North Carolina? Like they're sitting there, it's like, or they hate or no, I should be North Carolina. Why would you ever want to come to Duke? It's like, no, we're all Americans. We're all Duke, right? We all live here. You want this place to be better. You want your team to what? Win.
Well,
So why are you shocked that people want America to win? Because honestly, at the end of the day, I want America to win because I love Doc's philosophy. I've always had it. I didn't know I had it. He put it into wonderful words. It's when you have enough money to help somebody, you're going to do it. Like you don't really know what it's like to give and help someone until you have the money to do it. I want to be prosperous. I am not anymore. I can't help a lot of people. And I have a good living, but I have to budget. I have to do all these things. I have to take care of myself because God help me. I mean, America's not taking care of themselves, so I got to do it, right? Which is fine. I should be doing that anyways. But we're not doing that as a nation, and we're melting. We're dying from the inside because we're sitting here arguing stupid points, like you said, Trump support. Do you know he was trying to help you?
right.
Did you? Come on.
Well,
check.
It's
Is that
also
working?
the same with Biden. It's also the same with Biden. People say things, and I'm like, once again, if you think he's that dumb, then he can't be this diabolical, right? Because he's too stupid to be smart enough to be nefarious. So he must just be the puppet in the position. I don't understand. It's like
Anybody that sees Biden knows he's not 1970s intellect Biden anymore.
exactly.
I mean,
Yeah.
agree or disagree with him with politics then? He was a talented politician 40 years ago.
Man, he's the best
You know,
Scottie Pippen in politics ever. He was the best yes man, the best Scottie Pippen, the best sidekick to Teddy, to Obama. He was the best one. And I've examined his political career. I'm like, look, dude, he's a team player. That's what you need in politics. You need a team player, a guy who's like, I'm down. You want me to run for office, and I'm just gonna get the $460,000 for the donations, but I ain't gonna win.
But I made one more connection on something you two both said, Dana and Lorenzo. Nobody admits when they're wrong anymore.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
That's big.
That is what's happening, because
Yeah.
if you look at the blunders of the Trump administration and the Biden administration, nobody admits to it.
Yeah.
And when that happens, people can't trust each other.
Right.
Because if I come in this room and say I'm actually the thinnest one in this room, y'all aren't going to trust me. You know,
Well,
if
I don't
I
know.
go and say that,
Then
you're
it's
going to say,
relative.
well, we really can't
But-
trust this guy. But if I say, hey, I know I got a weight issue, but I have been working on it, you can say, all right, this guy's at least honest about where he is in life. And
Self-accountable.
when our politicians won't do that, when Trump will say, didn't make any mistakes, it was the best possible way to handle the pandemic, that hurts his credibility.
It does.
And if Biden says, I am actually fully coherent, and you're like, all right, dude, give me that Percocet, right?
Even Trump saying it now, you're out.
Right.
Say that you did something, like admit where you went wrong, right? You're out. So you can say now, I probably should have did this better. That humility may actually bring leftists to your side and say, you know what? I actually didn't hate him. And now that I've heard this, he's not
Humility
that bad of a
goes
guy.
a long
It
way.
does.
Exactly. Yes, sir.
I think this is the best example I can think of. The Rick and Len show on WAPL, 105.7 back in the day.
Yeah.
I was interviewed on the Rick and Len show when I was 16. And me and Len Nelson couldn't disagree more about anything. He's very liberal. Me, I tend to be more conservative. And I commented on one post. Oh, my gosh, I was not prepared for that whatsoever. And finally, like he just kept showing and showing. I'm like, Len? I'll give it to you. You're right. You know way more about this than I do.
Yeah.
So carry on, my friend, because I'll admit when I'm wrong, and you've shown me enough facts to where I am wrong about this, and I will gladly admit that. And
People need to do it more often.
and he sent me a message directly on Facebook saying, dude, I freaking love you. He's like, I wish more people would admit when they're wrong. And I'm kind of like, I wish yeah. But, I mean, but it's like, I have no problem admitting I'm wrong. It's like last night I was in this heated debate on Facebook. It was like, I was like, all right, show me where I'm wrong. And I have no problem telling you I'm wrong. And thank you for correcting me.
That's true.
Yeah.
I have
That's
no
very
problem.
We have to be willing to be wrong.
I mean, I'm wrong about a lot of things.
Well,
Ditto. Same
and,
here.
and it appears as though your president, the leader, can't admit fault even while in office, right? Which I honestly think that if more presidents did that, they would actually be seen as more people would probably see them
Like they're more relatable.
exactly. Exactly.
Not on a pedestal so much.
Exactly.
Right.
But see, and so this is where I have to go back and agree with you, Eric. I think that because of that behavior, which I'm not gonna say it starts with Trump, probably starts with like Reagan, or maybe a little bit before that with Nixon, probably. Maybe FDR, because that motherfucker was wrong about a lot. But it seems as though these presidents have just been wrong. And it has trickled down to now congressmen, mayors, alder people, this motherfucker Tiffany Henyard in Dalton, Illinois, who was the goddamn Cook County, the township president. Wrong. Can't admit it in this little small township. I used to live there, by the way. That's why I know this, because I
Say that's
got a
otherwise
got a
very
connection to
random
this
fact
person.
that you know.
But
but very particular.
but you can't admit you're wrong. You can't say your faults. It's almost like the people are not going to vote for you. You think they're going to say, well, you messed up, so now I can't vote for you. Or they want you to say that you're wrong about things that really don't matter. Like, why did I need to hear about Bill Clinton getting his dick sucked in the Oval Office? He needs to talk to Hillary about that. That ain't got nothing to do with us as a
Right.
Right.
I don't care nothing about that. That's their problem. But
Yeah.
when the media
How does that affect your policy?
points out where you're wrong, and they keep like poking at it like it's a wound, we're gonna keep talking about it until it bleeds all over the place. And then everybody is just all covered in your nasty blood, and we are all fucked up in your shit, focusing on what you were doing in your private life with your intern against your wife. We're all involved now. I can't believe he did that. Maybe he didn't do it. What does it matter? How's the economy looking, guys?
Seriously, like priorities.
When it all boils down.
How's the economy looking? Why are we so concerned about this? And with Trump, it's the same thing. How is he talking? Why is he speaking this way? What happened with him and Stormy Daniels? Oh my God, he cheated on his wife. Oh my God, his son is so tall. Oh my God, his wife is a Jew. She's married to a Jew. Oh my God, there's Jews in his family. Oh my God, there's Jews not in his family.
Heck, I got Jewish blood over here. I mean,
It's like all of these things. It's like, why do these things even matter? They shouldn't. But this is an example of how
Made up problems.
Made up
and
problems.
Control.
Yep, and control.
Distraction.
Right, because no one, I don't hear anybody say anything about the First Step Act when they talk about Trump, whether pro or against him. I never hear people say, the First Step Act put out too many black men out of jail, and that's the problem. I probably would say, well, at least you know something that the man did. Let's talk about all the Negroes that got out of jail. They probably didn't deserve to be out. I agree with you. Fucking criminals. What they do, right? But if you're going to sit up here and tell me, I don't know what he did, and he's just evil and all this, that is something right there.
you're basing your opinion on hearsay.
All hearsay. But that is what these offices are now. Now we spent quite a lot of time. We're obviously not going to go to another subject. We're going to probably end up sticking with
Just the one.
Just the whole one.
I mean, we might as well
Yeah, we
because
might as well.
I mean, we've
That's what
had
I'm thinking.
this really in-depth discussion that has been really good. And I mean, even the disagreeing from Eric, it was a really good
Well
point
thought
that
out.
I mean a very good point that he made that made me kind of think, shit, I agree with Eric. I might fucking
I was
do
really,
that.
I was,
good
I
window
was really
opening.
excited when you said you disagreed. I was like, oh, this is gonna be good.
Yeah, and then when he made his point, I'm like, man, he actually makes some really good points
Yeah,
that
very
I
good.
didn't even think about, and he's right. These things make sense, and so I would ask you this, Eric, when you were coming up with these ideas, I don't know if you came up with them just on the fly or you thought about it for a while. When you were coming up with these ideas, are these things that you have thought about for a long time, just watching Trump and his behavior, or is this something that you just, it's like, I think about how presidents and how politicians should be, and he's just not the example that I like?
Yeah, so I would say I do look at the leaders that we have. I've done a lot of time analyzing effective leadership and leadership that develops like momentum that carries. And one of the things that I'm really big on is actually winning the argument. You look at a lot of the progress, in quotes, progress that has happened in our nation. A lot of it happens just by fiat, right? The court just says, this is the new rule now, this is what you do.
Yep.
And there's never any consensus building. There's never actually an argument winning. And if you disagree, they say, oh, the science is settled, or this debate is settled, or if you disagree, you're a bigot. And there's no actual winning the argument. It is, we've decided the argument has been won, and this is the way it's been won.
Yeah.
I have concerns that Donald Trump is trying the conservative version of that versus actually winning the argument. Because he talks about how he's going to brute force things in. And that appeals to us a lot of times because we see a lot of things that need to be fixed and we want them fixed now.
Right.
But that isn't sustainable. When you look at, I'll contrast it with when you look at what Ron DeSantis did in Florida. He argued the terms. He said, this bill doesn't do what you say it's doing. You're lying about my bill. Donald Trump would go up there and say, you're a bunch of idiots. You're losers. And that would be his way of arguing it. But that's not a sustainable victory because people can get punched into a corner and just sit there and say, all right, I give up for now.
Right.
But they're going to come back and they're going to punch you in the back of your head when you're looking away.
Right.
And that's what happens. A lot of people are mad about being told they're a bigot for not agreeing with something or that they're a science denier for not agreeing with something rather than having the conversation. Right. And so that's when I look at that, when I'm critical is that I think that a Ron DeSantis style of conservatism wins the argument, has the argument, wins the argument, and that develops momentum. That is what causes somebody's legacy to be looked at as a winner's legacy. Now, as we've kind of observed, I don't think Donald Trump has the temperament to do that. And that's where we have to, because we are going to affect our community more than Donald Trump or Joseph Biden are going to affect our community.
Right.
So we've got to have that temperament. We've got to have those conversations, because when you do, you'll discover when you're wrong. And then if you have the humility, if we all have the humility to admit when we're wrong, well, all the areas where we're right are going to have a lot more credibility. They're going to change the minds of our neighbors because they're going to say, you know what, these people, they love me, even though I had all the opposite signs in my yard. And they came out there and fixed my flat tire at 2 a.m. because I was calling out for help.
Right.
And Then the one time where I spotted something that was wrong that they were saying, they said, you know what, you're right, I was wrong. So we got to do that if our leaders aren't. We got to do that. And that's, I think, what these conversations are a lot about, too.
Yes, Elliot.
Yeah, really quickly, and I think a big thing that people also need to stop doing, and this is more towards the far right, is Trump is not God.
Right.
Yes.
Let's stop
Seriously.
treating him like God.
Yeah.
He is human. He is flawed. He is flawed as much as the rest of us.
Yeah.
My mom is a perfect example. I feel like Trump could kill someone, and she'd be like, "Oh well,
Good.
yeah, good."
Yeah.
My mom's like really far right. It's like, no, he's still human. He's still. We gotta stop treating him like God himself.
Okay.
I want to add to that. I believe in general. You said you're Christian. I'm a Christian.
Yep.
Christ is on my pedestal.
Yes.
Nobody else.
Correct.
Okay. And when Dr. Patrick, he's very well known around here, and I know a lot of people have him on a pedestal. And if he says one thing wrong or does something, it's like
He falls
if
off
the guy has a wet fart, he's wrong. He's horrible.
Yep.
You put people where they belong, on the ground with you. They just happen to be successful, doing a wonderful job, working hard, grinding. That's where Trump is. That's where Doc is. All these famous people, even these Packer players that people worship, and all these things. And it's like, or Giannis for the Bucks. It's like, come on, man, he's human.
Right.
Put him where he
Yeah.
belongs. He's
Yeah.
not playing for you. He's playing for his paycheck that he rightfully earned, right?
Yeah.
So you got to put people in the right place in your mind, and that way, when they do shit the bed or when they do something right, it's all right. It's thank you, Jesus. He picked the right one.
Yeah.
Or he's human.
Well, and I even
it's
said
very
that.
easy.
Well, and I even said that on a podcast years ago. Because I was doing lead guitar for a very large non-denominational church in De Pere, and I said the biggest problem I had, and the biggest reason why I left, was because people kept putting us on pedestals. Being on the worship team, and no, do not. I will fail you. I will fail you miserably. I'm not perfect. Far from it.
Yeah.
Don't look up to me as far I'm just a guitarist who plays, love worship music, love Jesus. That's all there is to me,
Yeah.
and that's the bottom line.
But I think that's the issue with all of these individuals who are in media, right? Whether it's Beyonce, Trump, Hippo Lizzo, it doesn't matter. It's all we look at them as they are above us. We've placed them on this pedestal. I am not a religious person simply because I believe this. One of the things that makes a God become a God is the people who worship the God. If you don't worship the God anymore, it's gone. It ceased to exist. Many gods don't exist anymore. We don't praise Dagon. We don't praise Baal and El anymore. So these gods, they're gone because people stopped believing in them. And it's the same thing with these celebrities. We put them on the pedestal. We praise them. We put them on this high pedestal. And then when they do something, we're like shocked because who we have decided is our God. Our God, right? Because I can't be Dana's God. If Dana doesn't want to worship me, I'm not Dana's God. Right? If Dana worships a God, and that God is herself or Jesus Christ, that's her God. That's who she chose. Even in Leviticus, it clearly states there were other gods. You people of this book chose me. So these are my rules. I will open the earth up and swallow your ass fucking whole if you don't do these things I'm about to outline in this entire book. So that's my issue. But we put these people on this pedestal. We make we say that the president is this larger than life figure who lives in this big house that we've allowed that shit because we should have had him in a goddamn duplex right in Washington. You live there so I can come and see your ass when you do something I don't like. We put him in that as his ego, as the title became more prestigious and the people in those positions, their egos got bigger. They got more security. They got more reasons for us to believe they deserve it. I cannot understand for the life of me why Jay-Z or Beyonce, who we made rich, right? Because we bought the music, we paid to go see these motherfuckers dance on stage and mumble rap. We paid for this, right? I can't understand at all how they don't feel like they should give back to the communities or that they should do something for the American people. They feel like you owe me more money, Eric. I don't believe you were at the concert last, and now you gotta pay for two, motherfucker. Look at that. It's like, who do you think you are? Because you did H to the Izzo? I don't care. It's like, but we did this though. We told Jay-Z you're the god of rap. No, you're not. But then he's the god of rap, and then he ends up being the god of some celebrity universe. We did that. We got to stop doing stuff like that. It's truly
we
stupid.
do.
Well, I love the one thing that's I hate the silent majority, but at the same time, one thing I do love when someone tries to get woke, and they just go. I know, like the one of 2023 was Bud Light, right?
Oh gosh, the Dylan
And
Devaney
what was the
thing.
recent one that was just lost a crap load of money?
A gym. It was a gym.
Oh yeah,
Planet
Planet
Fitness.
Fitness. Planet
Planet
Fitness.
Fitness.
Yep.
You know what? You guys want to be idiots? You know what? Put yourself on a pedestal and let me just kick that pedestal from underneath
Yep.
you.
Yeah,
As
there
you
you
lost
go.
$430 million.
Yep.
Who's
I
counting?
don't know if they care about that. I don't know if they care about losing that money. I don't think that's a concern for them.
I honestly, I wonder about that too. But how quickly Bud Light pivoted their
my gosh.
campaign, it tells me it did leave a dent.
Sometimes I think about the Bud Light campaign, and I think that was strategically done at the proper time because they had already reached whatever goal they needed to reach for the year financially. So they were like,
We can mess around.
Take a risk.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
maybe.
let's see
I
what
don't.
happens
I wouldn't be
kind of thing.
surprised.
Possible. Wouldn't
I think
surprise
it's
me.
evidence of people being in their echo chambers.
Okay.
Like they're only listening, so they're thinking, "Hey, we're gonna take off even further because every single person I'm friends with likes this idea." Well, why? Because going back, y'all worship the same God.
Yeah.
And so since y'all worship the same God,
Yeah.
none of y'all disagree.
Right.
That does happen. I mean, we have to admit that. You guys, I don't know if you saw these Trump Bibles that just came out.
I
Wait,
just
what?
Saw, I just
That
saw social media.
Trump
thing,
is
yeah.
creating-
It has like a
Bible?
flag
Yeah,
on it. It's like this brown
yeah.
leather.
Oh,
it has like
dear.
a
So
flag.
Trump is promoting for Holy Week a Trump Bible. You got it. That's cringe. That is really
That's
Yeah.
cringe.
Okay, well,
pushing the limit.
and-
Yeah.
So let
It
me
is-
ask the question:
It is.
Is it like
A rewritten
is
Bible?
it like the Masonic Bible where they're like giving you like
Or are we just talking like NIVs that he's just giving
Or
out?
like the King, yeah.
I think it's like a branded, like it's my brand. And
Oh, okay, but it's still the Bible.
But still,
We're
it's
not changing
weird.
anything, right?
Yeah,
That
it's
is
the Bible.
still-
of Trump.
Okay.
I'm
I
okay.
wouldn't buy it.
I'm
Yeah.
okay with it as long as the words inside don't change.
But it's
but
still
it is a little.
cringe.
It's
I'm
still, it is
scratching my head.
cringy.
Yeah.
It is cringy.
And so it's
Like, now you're
so
making
I just look at it
capitalism
as
look bad.
like
I
you
want to
got-
make my own Bible.
You got to stay in your lanes, right? You know,
Yeah.
like Trump's not. He shouldn't be anywhere in that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But when I look at the stuff that happened with Bud Light, with the gyms and all that, pandering just doesn't stop, and it's not useful. It's not
Yeah.
useful when
Right.
the right does it to their audiences, and not when it's useful when the left does, because it just pushes us further and
Yeah.
further. It's like the antithesis of this conversation.
Yes.
Is the pandering.
Well, like a good example, this thing that happened in Baltimore, and so as a person who doesn't care either way, because I'm like, I don't know, I live in Wisconsin, so that doesn't affect me. But then I'm looking at the arguments on both sides. One side is saying, oh, it's possible that this is Russia, and they're
yeah.
responding
It's a
because
whole
the
thing.
right is saying these things about him, and then Putin says something about he believes that somebody in the Western nations. He didn't say America. He said Western nations. So that could be France, Britain, Greenland. God damn it, it could be Mexico. We don't know. It's a Western nation that supposedly was involved in the massacre in Moscow that just recently happened. So now the left is saying, oh well, the Republicans are pushing this. So they've been pushing about how Putin saying this, so this was obviously Putin. And then the right is saying, oh, it's DEI. It must have been some DEI hires that are in there. See what happens when you put the D.
It's a bunch of women driving the boat. That's what it was.
That's probably
That's
more.
That was it.
plausible. It's plausible.
It's all
I
clear to me
solved it.
now.
Yeah,
She was
that's why.
texting.
I spent
Yeah.
all.
She plugged in the charger and took all the power from the engines,
she
blacked it out.
I mean,
She
iPhones
was-
do take a
well,
lot of
she-
power these
Charizard
days.
that was there that needed to be caught on the phone. you know?
She was paying full attention. She wasn't texting anything.
She's like, hey, I'm just here in the
Absolutely
boat driving.
not. Absolutely not. You don't need to do that.
We need to stop having Cardi B driving
Just
these
be
things.
driving, and it gets too complicated because you got too much going on.
But what you're saying there, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people look really ludicrous, however they
Yeah.
put that blame out there. Right?
Yeah.
And that ruins your credibility. And we have to have that self-control to not jump on all those things. Or if every once in a while, we're all going to get brought in by something, right?
Yeah.
Somebody who is usually credible posts something, we agree with it, and then all of a sudden turns out they're wrong, right? What do we
Yep.
do right away? Hey, I was wrong. Should have
Yeah.
shared that. Turned out it was wrong. And when we do that, we de-escalate the tensions in our neighborhoods and
Right.
our circles
Right.
a little bit.
Yep.
Well, just like a good example would be the kids have kitty litter boxes
Oh,
in the
furries.
classrooms. I believe that. I did an episode of one of my shows. I put that in there, and unfortunately, because I have to, let me take that back. Fortunately, because I have to prove what I say. I am big on proving what I say behind me. So I'm a little box, and the focus is here. So I got to prove what I'm saying. As I'm looking for this, can't find it. I just can't find this footage, and I'm like, I know I heard this. I know I saw the footage. Am I having the Mandela effect? I know I saw this. I know I saw, and I'm looking around. Doesn't exist. Come to find out, it's something that Republicans have just been saying. They've been saying it because it's a possibility of what could happen. But it is not happening. Correct. And there was a teacher somewhere who said, I would allow a kitty litter box to be in my classroom if a student identified as a cat. That's not saying that the school said, oh, great, bitch. Hey, put the fucking kitty litters all over the goddamn classroom. Put some newspaper down for the kids who think they're dogs. And you know what? Put a little hay down for the kids who think that they're fucking goats. Go ahead, put them
I will
over there in
be
the corner.
so pissed if they use the gravel type of kitty litter versus the powder.
Right?
That powder, it's got baking soda in it.
I'd be
It
so
really-
irate.
Let's not miss this though. What you just said was important.
Yes.
Right? You admitted I got taken in.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it seemed credible.
Yeah.
And we have that because in all of our circles, we are in circles where we trust the people we are talking to on the daily. Mm-hmm. But sometimes it's going to be us or it's going to be one of our friends that are going to share something. It's going to look credible.
Yeah.
And we're going to get taken in on it.
Yeah.
And that's where we got to be vigilant because with everything going on, CCP, all these different things, they're inserting misinformation into everything.
Yes.
That's the way to break your trust with people. And then all of a sudden, the 90 true things you just told them the last 3 months, all of a sudden, they don't
gone.
believe any of that either.
That's right.
You
It's
know,
the oldest
so-
trick in the book. Just throw in some lies in the truth. And they've been doing that for thousands of years.
Thousands of years. Well, we've talked about this for 2 hours. This was
Wow,
great.
this is a good one.
This was good. This was a
a good
good
one.
conversation. I think
Nice
all
and
of you
full.
all added like tons of great information. I really was concerned about that. I disagree, but you got me. So,
Final thoughts?
anybody got any final thoughts? Anything you
already
want to
said all
promote?
mine.
Said what
Elliot,
you
anything you
wanted
want to
to
promote? Any business that you have?
I mean, yeah, if you look up my name on Spotify, Apple Music, it's there. I create guitar dance music.
Tell
And-
them your name again and last name, how to spell
Yeah,
it.
Elliot, Eliott. Last name's Janz, Janz. And now I'm going to be doing a song with the vocalist from Ashba's latest song, Party Tonight. Now, Ashba was the guitarist for Guns N' Roses for almost a decade, and he was also the guitarist for 6 a.m. So his new singer's become a very close friend of mine. We talk daily, and she's going to be doing this project with me called Africa, where one of the directors of my grandpa's orphanages sent me a video of the kids singing Hallelujah. I instantly said, I got to make this a song. And then all those proceeds will go to International Children's Fund.
Nice.
So, and I love what my grandpa does. 99% of what's donated goes to the cause. So once that song is released, there's going to be the instrumental of me with the guitar, but then there's going to be the vocal one too.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, if you look me up on anything, you'll find me.
Fantastic. That's awesome, man. That's good stuff.
Cool.
Very cool.
All right.
Eric?
My final thought is be a de-escalator. Be somebody that reduces the tensions. The way we're going to fix our country, like you've said, we're not going to vote our way out of this mess.
Yeah.
We got to do it by repairing our communities, repairing circles.
Yep.
And it starts with people that have different signs than you in their yards.
Yeah.
And building friendships with them, seeing where they're coming from, finding ways that you can make this. And my plug for what I do, I'm big on growing engagement in communities.
Yeah.
Being president of one neighborhood association, vice president of another, I've got to work with people that have completely opposite ballots as I have on November elections. And so if you are in the Green Bay area and you're wanting to get more involved, reach out to me. I'll definitely help you, get you connected with Green Bay neighborhoods to get involved with your local neighborhood associations. And doing little things like that to fix stuff in your neighborhood, that's one of the top ways. I think Jordan Peterson once said, you got to get your own house in order first. That's one
right.
of his things, and that's what we can do. Everyone's capable of making a difference in their neighborhood today.
Yeah.
You're not maybe capable of making a difference in your city immediately, but your neighborhood, absolutely. So,
Yeah, I agree. Travis?
My answer is real simple. This is a great statement. I think, whenever you can get a statement to go over 2 hours, that's a win, I think, And you guys have been great, you know, that we'd love to have you guys back. I'm quite certain of that. That's awesome. You guys brought good content. That's important. Mine's very simple. Godlessness equals lawlessness, and we removed him decades ago. And whether you believe in him or not, you have to believe in some of the things that is brought to the table with the Word of God. Obviously, I believe it through and through. But we have no laws. Like, people are going the opposite way. And I've said this a million times in this podcast. Regardless of what you believe in regards to eternity, it's affecting our nation. It's more than people want to admit. Comes back to the pride thing, admitting you're wrong. It's okay. You have to admit that order brings, or reduces chaos, and I'm telling you right now, you're right. Voting is not going to fix this. It'll slow the bleeding, but we're bleeding internally right now. And if we don't make a change, China's going to come pay a visit soon if they're not already here. I'm serious. I mean, I mean, people forget. I mean, even World War II, I mean, there were U-boats in the Gulf. I mean, that was, 80 years ago, 75 years ago? I don't know the math off the top of my head, but my point is, you guys, it's possible, and we have a lot more technology. If we're not careful, if we don't take care of each other and start working in the communities and start rebuilding what we have, you know what? We're going to be divided, and people are going to walk in here and take it. And I don't think it won't happen. It might not happen tomorrow, but it might happen in a couple decades, and we're going to be going, damn, Trump was pretty good. Maybe we should have had him. Sorry. All right. Am I going to knock on the door or bust the door down with Biden president or Trump? I hope that the answer would be for everybody. I'm going to do it when Biden's president because he's a weak ass.
Right. Right.
Dana?
Well, I think I've closed with this before, actually, but it's been a really long time since I've done it. But, given everything that we're talking about with politics and it's an election year and all of those kinds of things, people get really caught up in two different teams, right? And we're all trying to come together and unify and all those things. And I just want to reiterate the point of there are two teams though, but the two teams are we the people versus them the tyrants is how I refer to it.
Right.
And we the people are the ones who need to come together and get our lives in order and be successful. Being successful is our obligation in life, and we need to all be fulfilling that. And the other thing I was going to say actually was, we're talking about these people over here making decisions for these, and we're talking about small communities and starting in our own communities and affecting them. And it just kind of takes me back to this thing that I talk about once in a while called Dunbar's number. And Dunbar's number is just like a theory. I don't know that it's ever necessarily been studied and proven, but basically it says that the perfect community size is right around 150 people, because at 150 people you can actually know everybody pretty well because it's a relatively small number, but it's big enough that you can have everything that you need to. There's enough people to be able to do everything that's needed in a community. But with the smallness piece, you don't wrong the people that you know. And so when your neighbor has different signs than you, but you make an effort to go get to know them, it's a lot easier to just like them and not want to wrong them, regardless of what party ends up winning. And so there is a lot to say about the smaller community sizes and focusing on those closest, maybe 150 people to you, because that'll help ultimately build a lot of small communities who are getting along and are unifying together to be really strong, and that can ripple throughout society.
Yeah, the only thing that matters is the human race, not the political race.
Yeah, that's true.
That's a good way to put it.
Or the NASCAR race.
Going to watch. I can't watch that.
Let's go, Brandon.
All right, well, hey, I don't have anything to say. I have no closing statements. All except for one.
Oh.
Make sure you guys go and watch Random Things You Need to Know at YouTube, Facebook, wherever it is. You can Google at RRP Show, and I'm sure this beautiful brown face will come up. It has to. So that's what should happen. One thing I'll say is this. You brought up the Argentina president, and I was thinking about that this entire time. I was thinking about how, you're right, the people of Argentina love him, but the left news here is portraying him as Trump.
What was the plug for you again?
At RRP Show. And they're portraying him as a Trump. And so it's like they're trying to make him into this bad figure as well. Same thing they did with Boris Johnson. And they'll do it to another, and they'll do it again. And it's very interesting how they're doing that, even though, like I know what you're saying. They love him in Argentina. They're very happy to have this person in there. They're comparing him to Trump. So it's very interesting how they do that all the time. They've been doing it. And that is why he's going to be seen as a great leader when he's done in Argentina. And That is why in the future, the people will look back in the past and they'll say, that Trump character, man, you may not have liked how he talked. Same thing with Andrew Jackson. May I have liked how that man talked. May I have liked his views on Native Americans. May I have liked his views on blacks. But, man, if he didn't defeat those banks, and that probably was the best thing that could have happened to the American people at the end of at that time, was getting rid of those banks. But today, he is on $20 bills, which he would throw up on, and we don't care because we have a media that will portray him how they want. All right, hey, thank you all. Thank you guys for coming.
Definitely.
Thank you all for watching. We'll be back next week, every week, because that's what we do here is we come back every week with topics. So we'll see you guys again. Go do something productive with your life and shoe off.